one and all. Now some of you astute viewers might have noticed that this is not a 9-inch differential, and you'd be correct. This is just a plain standard Ford Diff, Bob Warner I believe. Yeah, about a 2.9 something or other diff ratio, 2.92 to 1, I guess that's what that is. And I know that's going to really, anyway, the fact that it's not a 9-inch is going to really offend some of you guys. So I've got a suggestion. If you've got a 9-inch diff floating around in your backyard, let me know. I'll come pick it up. I'll take it away free of charge. I will not complain. I will not gripe that it's a long way from where I live. I will probably even buy you a cup of coffee and give you a case of beer. And whatever you prefer, cup of tea and a biscuit. Packet of biscuits. Would you like, you know, Monte Carlos? They're a nice biscuit. And if you feel they are willing to swap your 9-inch diff for that, I'd be happy to oblige. But currently, this is all I got, and I don't know, it'll do. There's no weight in the back of the ute, so it'll never blow, it'll never break. I'd have to put sandbags and take it to the drags if I want to actually break this ute. In the back of the ute, that is, sandbags in the back of the ute. So, yeah, I'm going to use this. I've got other diffs, I've got different ratios, and I've got a disc brake. I've got one with a disc brake setup and a few different setups, but I think just for the time being I'm going to use this one as a standard thing that actually came with the car. I don't want to deviate too much from its original factory setup. So yeah, that's about it. But don't forget, you know, don't get cross, don't get mad, just send me your details and tell me where the diff is and I'll come and pick it up with Josh, both of us. And we'd be really happy to do that. Meanwhile, I'm going to paint this one up. Clean it, needs a new pinion seal, new wheel bearings, probably new wheel bearing new axle seals. And we should inspect it too and drain the oil. So we'll do all of that and see how she pans out. Okay, well, for a 50-year-old diff centre, it's actually quite good. It's got very minimal backlash. I checked the backlash. Everything says no sort of big chunks missing out of it. It's all pretty good, and stinks as gear oil does. I don't know these diffs very well. Is that a limited slip diff, or got a feeling it might be? Although I think it's really smooth. It's quite nice. I'm not unhappy with it. So I reckon it'll do the trick. I'll show you there's a plaque here, which I'll probably get some better images of. Is that upside down? There it is. So there's that. You can pause on that if you want to know what it is. And no doubt, it'll have it written here too. So 97 BWFL 2.92 to 1 DS. As far as I know, there's nothing else written on it anywhere else. Only an 8-inch diff, isn't it? Anyway, they're strong, these things. And that's why there's so many of them. People wonder why there's so many of them that's around. If they were no good, they'd all be landfill by now, or, you know, melted down and made tin cans out of. They actually are quite a good diff. And you know what I like about these diffs? The unsprung weight. They're really light. I mean, I carried that up on my own. You wouldn't do that with a 9-inch diff. So, anyway, I'm going to quickly go and have a cup of tea and a biscuit and wash my hands. And then I might put the cap back on that and we might clean it. Okay, whilst I'm quietly enjoying a nice cup of tea, no biscuits I'm afraid, going to make a new gasket. There's my gasket paper now for that, so I will be putting that back together. There's something I forgot to mention when you're checking for wear. I think we talked about the backlash, so there's bugger all backlash in that. But believe it or not, the actual axles can wear. Now I'm not touching this and you can't see. I'll try and zoom in. Geez, you can zoom in well with this thing. And don't mind that's a bit of dirt in the middle there. But you see that point between, where's my finger? Oh, here it is. Wow. Between there and there, oh, so hopeless. That'll they can flog out. I've seen them flogged out, and literally axles can go. That's not too bad, but it's showing signs of wear. And, but if you're looking directly on, like we are there, you know, there's not a great deal of difference. It's pretty good. So I'll reuse these axles too, and I'll put new bearings in. Those bearings have had it. That one over there's actually been leaking. It's even worse. And then I'll do the pinion. Where's my finger? I'm going to zoom out again. I'm going to do the pinion seal and check the bearing there. Oh, the bearing should be all right. I could tell it was all right already. I'll do the pinion seal because I just think it'll leak if I don't. And we'll give it a nice paint job and she'll be honky-dory. So what I'll do is I'll bring you back at strategic times, or I'll put you on time lapse, whatever happens first. Okay, this bolt here I call Maverick because it flew off through the workshop at Mach 3.7, and the other thing is I only ground my fingers 3 times heavily, or should I say buffed, and now they're clean, so it's good. I thought I'd mention just a couple of things about removing a pinion. One is I've got it zoomed in, so one is not to put the rattle gun on it if you can avoid it, because it'll actually can chip the hard facing on the gears, and so it can start off a crack or even break a tooth off. It has happened. I've never had it happen, however. The other thing is you can put a bit of a marker on there, like through there with a bit of texture, or just a scratch. So you know when you tighten it back up, you can tighten it back up where they were before, or you can just find the tension settings in it and just torque it up. Either way, I'm probably just going to put the mark on it, do the way of least resistance, and that's about it. Well, I just had to hit play with my nose because I've got 2 pairs of gloves on. and got rubber gloves underneath. It's really hard to use a touch phone screen without any hands. Should have a voice command, shouldn't I? That has been really hard to undo, like, whoa. And I just got it cracked. I even had to bring out the big guns to do it. And so anyway, I did it and I'm very pleased. So I'll just spin that nut off. And, well, that's how much leverage I have to give it. So, whoa. Oh, it's still really tight actually, because I only just cracked it. So it's not overly friendly, this thing, that's for sure. I do remember them, they could be very tight. That's good. Okay, this is it painted with the edge primer. It's a really nice look. And, yeah, so I bought some wheel bearings too. I didn't mention that earlier, should have mentioned it, I guess. Some Timken bearings, wheel bearings. And oh no, this has got the needle roller bearing type in it. And is that normal, you guys? And, that's your seal, that's your lock ring, and that's the bearing. Well, the needle roller never left. There you go, there's a picture of it. Oh. And a lot of these are ball bearing, and needle rollers can take more weight. So I guess that's why the needle roller in the ute, is that right? I don't know. And I have to find another diff to know, or maybe all the forwards. I know I've done wheel bearings in the rear wheel bearings in the past, but I just can't remember. Maybe go and look at my book if in doubt. Okay, well, I'm doing a wheel bearing, and I guess I thought, well, maybe I better at least show a bit of it. And it's hard to film things like this because you're in the vice and thing. Anyway, I'll just tell you how to do it. So number one is that's your retaining thing, which you heat when you put it on, just drop it on. But you hit it with a cold chisel and it spreads. And when it spreads, it's just give it a few taps and she comes off pretty easy because it's only mild steel. So with the bearing, then what you do is you, depending on the bearing case, but this is the needle roller one, you just give it a few hits and the cage comes off, which leaves this thing left over. So then it's like that. So you give it a couple of hits there. I heat it up with a heat spanner first. And if you get it nice and warm, don't leave it too long because the axe will take on heat. Give it a few hits. Once it moves a little bit, you just keep working around, just taps off really easily. And the last thing is I'm going to use the press, obviously press it back on. Don't put any grease in here or oil or anything. Just have it dry. Same with here, remove any grease and oil. Because at the end of the day, the only thing's holding this is just that friction fit there. So you don't want it slippery. So you want it to go on nice and firm. I don't know if they ever used to use Loctite or anything like that in the past, but anyway, I don't think that's necessary. I've never had one come off yet, but just don't grease it. Just put it on dry and she'll be honkadory. And I'm just waiting at the moment for this thing to cool off because it's warm, and whenever it's warm, it's bigger. So I don't want to force the bearing on while that's hot. And if anything, I'll probably, I could put that, I don't know what sort of grease that is, but I could put that in the oven, put it up to 100 degrees or something like that, and warm it up, and that would be better. So I'll let you know when I get there. I don't know why I'm going to film this, but I am. Just because it's fun. I love pressing in things. I find it a pressing situation. Oh, I better show you, I guess, since you're there. So what you're looking at is the bearing. Got to make sure that you put it tapering that way. And actually the other tapering that way. And get your seal on with a little bit of grease on it, the seal. Make sure there's no contaminants there, so it's clean. And put the old bearing cone there like that. And then put it on and get ready to press away. Right, back again. So now the next thing is we put our lock ring on, and I will heat that. Normally I'll put it on the stove, but Julie's cranking about that, so I'll heat it up with the propane thing. Put it on. Set of gloves. I'm a bit worried because normally I've got a water pipe and I'd give it a whack, but I don't have a water pipe anymore. I might have used it for something else. Alright, let's give it a go. Fingers crossed. Straight on all the way. Beautiful. Did you get to see that? You did. Excellent. So that's on. So that just needs to warm up, that ring. That'll cool off and everything just needs to equalise. And wild horses won't pull that off. That's ready to rock and roll. That's good. That's all I really wanted to show you. So. Hi all, thanks for watching. If you've managed to endure the whole video, yeah, please feel free to like, share and subscribe. And next time I'm going to probably keep, what am I going to do next time? I haven't really given it that much thought. I think I'm going to work on the underside and put the suspension on, and so that's probably what's coming up next. Probably get onto that fairly soon.